Well, welcome, Amy, to the Moms of Tweens and Teens podcast. I am so honored to have you here and excited. I know we're going to have great fun talking today.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor.
I am so excited to talk about your new book. I'm going to hold it up for those that are on video watching. I'll be there, and let's make friendship bracelets, a girl's guide to making and keeping real life friendships. And you wrote this with Jess Johnson, and she couldn't be with us, but I'm thrilled to hear your story and about your first book and then what led you to write this book. So why don't we just start, tell a little bit about yourself, how you got into doing what you do, writing this book.
Well, my name is Amy Weatherly. I'm from Texas. I started writing online a few years ago and just kind of stumbled into it. I wrote something in this private little group, a little teeny tiny group privately that was never supposed to be anything. I thought 100 people might read it, but it went crazy viral. Someone in that group copied and pasted it and then put it somewhere else. And then it just exploded. So it's all over the internet, changed my whole life. Cause from there I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm doing this now. And so that's kind of how I got started, was doing it for, I think I was doing it for 2 years, and met Jess. And I met Jess because I stalked her. I wasn't it was fate. It was not fate. I knew who she was. I really liked the way she wrote. Because we have similar styles. Her and I are pretty laid back and casual, and this is just who we are. I'm not here to be a fancy writer. I'm not here to have my words, they're not flowery, or I just want to share what I'm going through, and I want other people. I want to connect with people. I love people so much. I really love people. Anyways, so met Jess, hit her up in the DMs, and we kind of started talking. And the conversation of friendship just came up a lot naturally because of things I was going through in my personal life. And so met Jess, started talking about friendship, really wanted to work with her in some capacity. And one day I just had this idea, the whole page was born in 10 minutes or less. And I just called her up and I said, Jess, I have this idea for a page called Sister, I Am With You. I've already looked it up. There's no Instagram handle for it. There's no website handle for it. There's no Facebook page. Well, there was, because I was I just went ahead and grabbed all of it without even knowing whether she wanted to do it or not. I was the idea, had the name, grabbed those handles, and was I think we should start a page just on friendship. And we just talk about female friendship. We talk about the hard stuff. We talk about none of this oh my gosh, you've got to find your people because it's so wonderful. No, we get into what it's like when you can't find them, what it's like when you lose them, what it's like when you're insecure about it. And yeah, let's call it Sister, I'm With You. And basically was are you in, Jess? And she's yep, let's do it. And then we did it, and it exploded. And it grew, and then we wrote the book. I'll be there, but I'll be wearing sweatpants. And then the adult version did very well. And so the publishers just came on board and was hey, would you like to adapt this for kids and tweens, a 8 to 12-year-old version? And obviously we just said, yes, yeah, let's do it.
And it's awesome. It's such a good book. And I bought your sweatpants, the sweatpants book. I'll be there, and I'm looking, I'll be there, but I'll be wearing sweatpants. So yeah, it's really like that book too. I'm kind of fascinated with, I went to your whole community that you've built, Sister, I Am With You. And I was wow, you have over 1 million followers.
Yeah.
And it's all around friendship. And I'm thinking, what caused you to feel such a passion and heart around friendship?
Because I think I struggled with it. I think some people write things when it's a topic they're really an expert on. I think blogging and things like this, you've got two different kinds. Experts who go into it that they're just automatically an expert, and so they are there to help other people. And I think that because I struggled with it for so long, for so many years, I mean, for so many years, like I struggled with it. And the more I was like really vulnerable and willing to put it out there, I realized, oh, other women are feeling this too. This is not a me thing. This is a whole culture thing. We're feeling it. We just don't feel like we can talk about it. And so that is really what led to it, was really me struggling with it and just kind of getting to a point in my life where I was like, I kind of refuse to continue to live this way. I refuse to live lonely. I refuse to live feeling disconnected. I refuse to live feeling insecure. I refuse to live feeling like a people pleaser. And I refuse to live feeling like I'm never going to figure this out. So I just kind of set out on a mission to learn and to do it. And so I've kind of learned with my followers. It's been a whole growth thing for me personally. And I'm just really grateful to be able to share it all.
Yeah. Were you surprised by how many women were struggling with it?
I was sad about it. I mean, I was sad. And I was surprised because it's funny, I was just putting my feelings out there and really, again, like just really wanting to connect with other women, because there's nothing worse than going through something hard and feeling like you're the only one.
Oh,
That is isolating. And if you feel isolated, the more you feel isolated in that, I think the more you like pull into yourself, and the more you truly believe those lies that like, this is a me problem. I am the only one. I suck. And I'll never figure this out. And so I just talked about it. And I didn't even realize that I was talking about friendship when I would talk about these things, when I would talk about pleasing people, people pleasing, when I would talk about feeling left out, or I would talk about, my first post that went viral was about being okay with people not liking me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that those were all kind of tied into friendships until my followers pointed it out. People were like, I love the way you talk about friendship. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, you're right. That is kind of the main theme here. But I didn't see it until someone pointed it out, which I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Yes. How cool. I mean, it's so true that, that feeling of being alone and the people pleasing. When I was reading in both of the books about the people pleasing, and I wish I had this book when I was in middle school.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Ah, so good. We'll get into that, but
yeah,
just the loneliness. And the reason I said, were you surprised, is because I would think that this has been very therapeutic for you to write about it and then realize that you're not the only woman out there that is struggling to form friendships, that feels lonely, that is doubting herself, like, oh, look at those women over there. That group of women, this is me. Like, I'm looking around, I'm staring, where am I supposed to look? It was good when phones came out for that reason. I can just look like I'm searching messages, and how do I insert myself into this group? And, feeling left out in middle school and how that can follow us into our adulthood, and then putting that on other women. They something might be wrong with me and they don't really want to be my friend, and there's not enough space for me over there. And, all of it. Yes.
And then so many of those feelings do stem from stuff that happened to us in middle school and high school. I think most of that is built, because I have a 6-year-old daughter, and you know what? She is not afraid to go insert herself in a conversation with kids. She is not afraid to go ask someone to be her friend. She's not afraid to play with a stranger. Those things, I think. And I have a kid she's pretty extroverted. Then I have a kid who's introverted, but even him, when he was young, I think those things where we're scared, I think that's built. And I think it all comes from when we're young. It's like, rejection's terrible. And I think little doses, we've all been rejected in little doses along the way. And I think a lot of us have gotten to a place where we're terrified of rejection. We're terrified of it. And we would do anything to avoid that feeling again. So we just stop trying and kind of get this feeling like, well, this is just how I have to live. This is just how it has to be.
Yeah. And I'll be alone, and I'd rather feel alone and isolated than
Yeah.
put myself out and feel rejected.
Yes. And like, then you are looking at and social media's made it all worse. If we're honest, like it has helped us connect with other women and feeling like we're less alone. But then it's also made us lonelier because we see every girls' night that happens without us. We see every trip that is planned and we're not included. We see it all. And where I always say, I'm like, before we could kind of pretend that stuff wasn't happening without us, but now we know when we're not invited and we know when we're not included. And I think feeling like I think I felt like for a long time, well, they just have something that I don't. There's something in their chemical makeup or their personality or something about their lifestyle that they have that I don't, that I never will. And so sad. I mean, it's so sad. Like it breaks my heart because I know other women feel like that too. And I know teenagers feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it is sad. And there's something wrong with me. I always remember like looking, I mean, I ended up, my dad died, my mom got remarried. And my listeners probably don't even know this. I don't really talk about it, but my mom got remarried and I had a stepsister the same age as me that moved into our house in middle school. And she was super cute and I was not. My hair was really short. It's curly. It looked like a cotton swab. It was so bad. But she had that magical way about her where like girls were just attracted to her. And it was like, what am I missing? You know, it was like something must be missing, like that girl, that popular girl. And everybody seems to be drawn with her. And what might be wrong with me that they're not drawn to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What have you learned through starting to talk about this, creating how long have you had Sister I Am With You?
3 years.
Wow. 3
Three?
years and over 1 million followers is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Maybe 3.5. It's been 3.5 because we started it in the summer. So 3.5.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a baby still.
Yeah. Well, what have you learned about yourself in that process and your own sense of self? You said you were a people pleaser historically. How have you grown through it?
I would say one of the biggest things that I have learned is that, and again, I think these are things we pick up as tweens and teens. I genuinely believe they are, like lies that we picked up and believed all the way that we have to unlearn now. And I hope that we are teaching our kids. I want to teach my daughter in a way that she doesn't have to unlearn so much, because it's so much easier to get it right the first time than to like at the age of, I'm almost 40, then at this age to be like unpacking all this stuff and figuring it out and unlearning and adopting new ways of thinking. That's tough. But I would say the first one is that we are not craving popularity. Popularity is not the fix. That's not the fix. The fix is belonging. And there is a difference between having a lot of friends and having the right friends. And I think that, as tweens and teens, we just think, well, if I just got invited to more stuff and if I knew more people and if I looked this way and could hang out with this crowd, then it would all be fine. No, popularity is not it. It is not about having a lot of friends. That does not fix us. That doesn't cure that craving in us. It is belonging. Is belonging. We want a couple. We don't need more than a couple friends. And honestly, statistics show that time and energy wise, a couple of really close friends are probably all that we're really capable of nurturing. Just because, it's limited. We're busy. They're busy. We all have lives. We all have other people who are our husbands, our kids, jobs that suck a lot out of us. So we really only have the capacity for a couple of really, really, really strong and true friendships. And to me, that's belonging, is really letting yourself be known, finding people who know you and take you as you are.
Where you don't feel like you have to be somebody else in order to fit in.
Yeah, because it's exhausting. It's exhausting having to tiptoe. It's exhausting to be like, okay, well, I'm hanging out with these people. Who do they want me to be? No, that's exhausting. What's good is showing up in your sweatpants and being like, this is who I am today. Today, I'm kind of cranky and I'm so sorry. I love y'all, but this is who I am right now in this moment. that feels good. That is a relief.
Yeah. It's like my one friend that doesn't wash her hair for 3 days that has 5 kids, and she has a baseball cap on. And then, we get somewhere and she's like, okay, I haven't washed my hair for 3 days, but I can take off my baseball cap for you.
Yes, yes, it is about being able to take off your cap and be like, here it is, and finding those few people who will accept it.
Yeah.
And that's, that's a tough journey, but it's so important. So I would say that's one of the biggest things I've learned, that it's not popularity, it is belonging. And I would say one of the second things that I've really learned in this journey is that there's no like personality trait. There's nothing that, because it is easier for some people than others. Maybe something in their upbringing made it easier, but there's nothing that can't be learned. Friendship is possible for everyone. It is possible for every single person. Introverted, extroverted. It's just not based on any of that. It's all possible for us, but we just have to be willing to learn things, and we have to be willing to grow, and we have to be willing to take chances. So I think that's a big one, is that it is empowering to go from a place where you feel like, well, this is just the way things are going to be. This is just the way things are going to be. I am who I am. There's nothing I can do about it. And there's a lot of power to be had when we realize, no, I can change my mindset, and I can change my life, and I can learn things and grow in a way that will help me get to where I want to be. I can take the reins. I don't have to wait for an invitation to live my own life. I can do that. I can do that now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in that.
Amen, sister, to that one. And also being able to disprove those false beliefs about ourselves that we do take from middle school, high school into our adult life. And so if I'm believing, well, somebody doesn't really want to be my friend, or I don't fit in, I'm going to respond in a way that creates that. Then I'm not going to go and say hello, because I'm going to believe I'm going to be rejected. So I've learned over the years, really, that's not true, because I'm choosing not to live believing those lies anymore. Yes. But it does take work, like you said, and it does take courage, and we do have to step out a little bit. But the more that we can disprove that and reach out to that other mom that's really lonely too, we're surprised. That's why I kind of using like, wow, there's 1 million women in your community that are there because they want that sense of belonging.
Yeah, that's what it always kills me, because one of the comments we get all the time is like, no, like other women already have their friends. There's no space for me. Like, no one else is looking for this. No one else wants to be a good friend. And I'm like, oh, false. What are the statistics? Like 1 in 7. Oh, I don't even want to share it because I don't know what the statistic is anymore. But the number of women, more women are lonely than are not. More women are looking for good friendships than are not. And it's by a big number. Like, it's by a big number. Most women would say that they have 0 close friends. That's the most popular number. When a group of women were asked, how many close friends do you have? The most popular answer is 0. So there is a field. There are tons of women looking for friendship. There are a ton of women willing to give. There are a ton of women who are ready for this. But it will take bravery on each of our parts to go out there and find it. And to kind of hold the power. And you know what another thing I learned was, and this was a good one, because I am a people pleaser. And so my whole life was just this and it was a chapter in one of the books, it's called Please Like Me. And so that's what you go into situation, you're like, oh my gosh, and just like you said, a lot of times we walk into places and we assume people aren't going to like us because we haven't been liked in the past. And we assume people will eventually dump us because we've been dumped in the past. And that mindset messes us up. It is a huge barrier, whether we know it or not. It's a huge barrier because we go in looking for that. I think we tend to find what we're looking for, Yeah. So I, for a long time, would kind of live with this, just please like me. Let me be funny enough. Let me be likable enough. Let me be entertaining. Let me have really good stories to share. And then people will want to be with me. And I found that is, Not true. That is not the mentality to go in with. The mentality to go in with is, how can I make people feel liked? How
Yeah.
can I make people feel like their story is important to me? How can I make people feel like I am, I don't know how to even say, but like, how can I make people feel special about themselves? And you stop focusing so much on you. You kind of, it takes this like really just getting over yourself, get over yourself, get over your own ego, and really make it about other people. And you will find true connection there. But it stops with, you don't have to be an entertainer. I've got like what, like 3 funny stories. Like, I don't have a lot of funny stories to tell. I can't, well, I'm not going to be entertaining. I'm not that, and that's, thank goodness.
Well, I don't know about that. I think you're pretty entertaining.
Well, thank you. Well, maybe the first time you're with me, and maybe the second time, but after a few times, I just like, I'm not entertaining anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not. And so that is what I've learned, is I don't have to like pressure off. It doesn't have to be about me for people to want to be with me. I have to make them feel good about themselves. I have to be like just willing to have this connection with them, and kind of, I just think people are so cool, and that I've really worked on cultivating that a lot, of getting over myself and being like, wow, I get to have this connection. I get to have this conversation with another human, and I get to find out more about them. How cool is that? And it's just kind of changed everything for me.
I
That makes
love, yeah. Yeah. I just love that. I think of it like, how can I care about other people?
Yeah.
Being
Yes.
in your head is a very lonely place to be, even with what I do. It's, and you too. And no matter what anybody, all of our listeners do, it's so easy to get stuck in our head. And then to take a risk, I have to say, no, I want to serve other people. I want to
Yeah.
care about other people. I'm showing up to care and connect. And that gets me out of my, what are they going to think about me? Do I sound smart? Am I funny?
Yeah.
And which usually I fall flat on my face if I'm doing that anyway. So
Same. And
yeah,
yeah, I've just found what a beautiful thing it is. If I can really get into a headspace where I'm like, just be impressed by other people, just get to know them, like think that their story is really cool, and they are more likely to want to be around you. You're
yeah,
more like, it's just easier. If I'm comfortable with me, they're more likely to feel comfortable, and that's going to open a lot of doors. But if I walk in and I'm awkward and I make the show about me, it doesn't really feel good. At the end of the day, it's a lot of pressure on me, and probably exhausting for them. I don't know.
yeah, a lot of performing.
A
Well,
lot of performing.
I want to thank you for saying the statistics, about how in your community, how many moms feel like they have 0 friends.
That's a lot.
What? Yeah. And we don't realize that. And I have a very good friend that's very social. And she's lonely all the time because she doesn't feel like, and I'm like, really, you're lonely? And she's like, yes, because it's real, true connection.
Yeah.
Like talking about. And I think that just moms knowing that the statistics of how many moms feel really lonely will help them be able to reach out.
Yeah.
For moms to know that, yeah, chances are you're talking to somebody that's feeling lonely too.
Yeah. And I was talking to a friend, so I just went with some girlfriends somewhere. And I'm talking is not difficult for me. I will talk to anybody. I love to talk to strangers. I can go up and compliment someone. That's not a hard thing for me. So we were talking about social anxiety, and she was like, "You don't have social anxiety." And I was like, "Oh, yes, I do. I have it almost worse than anybody I know." And she was like, "No, you seem so confident." And I was like, yeah, I can talk to people, and strangers is really easy to me. But I'm like, but if I walk into a place with a bunch of people that I kind of know, I am nervous the whole time. Like, I was like, you can watch, and I'll leave for the bathroom at least once. And I'm sure people are like, what is she doing in there? Is she okay? Is she sick? Should we give her some Tums? A plunger, like, what is she doing in there? But I have to go to the bathroom and like recollect myself almost every time, because I get so nervous. And then after every social interaction, I'm like hard on myself and I question everything. And I'm like, Amy, why did you say that? Like, why did you do this? This was so weird. Were you friendly enough? Were you? And it's just, I think it's easy to assume other people have it easier than we do, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Do you ever get the
but
lip
really don't
quiver?
know.
Do you ever have the lip quiver? Has that ever happened
Uh,
to you? That's happened to
no.
me if I'm really nervous and I'm going
Mhm.
into a group and I sort of know them, and then my lip might start quivering.
Mhm.
I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, can they see that? Can they see that my lip's quivering and then I'm nervous, And
Yeah.
that sends me into a tailspin. Although I have had that doesn't happen
Mhm.
as much as it used to. So that's
Yeah.
really good, but still, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it happens to a lot of women. You know what I do? I talk more when I'm nervous. So that is it. And I don't do it on purpose. It's just the way it comes out for me. But I'm like, so that's a lot of people are like, you don't have social anxiety. And I'm like, no, no, no. What you saw, you thought was me being friendly, and that was actually me being nervous. That was actually my nervous tick, was me talking a lot. Um, and I do this weird tongue thing. Like I feel like I do my tongue back and forth. And it's so weird. And I have no control over it, but it'll just like, instead of my lip quivering, it'll be my tongue going back and forth, like kind of in between talking or while I'm listening to people. And I've had people be like, what are you doing? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Just not open my mouth after that.
I love it. Oh my gosh, we all have something, right?
Not something. And it really is more women than we think. And I've kind of I think I'm big on like a mantra, not like a mantra, but like, okay, this phrase is going to help me get through. So like one of them is make people feel liked, and just sort of flipping that whole switch. So I would try to walk into places, and when I go to the bathroom, I like recollect myself and be like, you don't have to perform. You don't have to be entertaining. You don't have to be someone that you're not. Make people feel liked. And then um another one that I try to remind myself is like, be aware of who is choosing you, be aware of who is kind of
Oh, that's
reaching out
good.
to you, who is making efforts. Be aware, but don't be offended. So be aware of who's in your corner, but don't be offended when someone's not. Don't live with that like chip on your shoulder, like constantly just looking for ways to be offended. And I think we're an easily offended society as a whole. And I think that, just translates all over. And I don't want to be a friend that's easy to offend, because that's just, again, not a good way to live. It's pleasant. The third one is, I'd rather be weird than rude. I'd rather be weird than alone. So if it's really hard for me to go start a conversation, I just try to remind myself, like, what's the worst that can happen? Is that they think you're weird? Okay, that's not so bad. Not so bad. If that's all people have to say about me, I can handle that. If I go up and compliment a woman that I don't know or that I barely know, and that comes off as weird, okay, I can handle being weird. I'd rather be weird than rude. I'd rather be weird than lonely. I'd rather be weird than disconnected. So kind of just putting myself in a place where like, you can do it. You can reach out to someone, even if it's hard. You can do it, but changing the way you think about it.
Yeah. And I love that too, because weird is not bad. Like,
Weird's not
you'll find your own weird people that fit your weird.
Yeah. And what are they going to be like? She was too friendly. Well, okay, that's fine. Go, please run around town and say that about me. I don't care, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But find the people who are okay with it. Because my friends know I'm weird. My friends know I'm awkward. They told me yesterday. I forgot. Oh, I walked. Yeah. Anyways, I had this whole awkward encounter and they just died. And they're like, oh, Amy, you're just you, aren't you? And I was like, yes, I am.
Yeah. And thank God I can truly be weird and be me and be okay with that.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And no, some people are going to get it and some people aren't. It's okay either way.
Yeah.
Because when you find the ones who get it, it's pretty refreshing. And it's pretty refreshing, and it's relaxing to just know you're in a place where I'm okay. I'm okay. Okay.
Yeah. And that it's a journey, but little baby steps, but the encouragement of your community to be able to focus. I mean, all of what you write is just, it's so heartfelt and it's so relatable, but it's also inspiring just to continue to set our mind straight, It's like we go somewhere in our minds and then you keep bringing it back to what really is important and what really matters. And yeah, so good. Well, we said we were going to talk about your girls' book and to the middle school. And I want you to speak a little bit about that because I work with so many moms. I'm really glad we're talking about friendship because with what I do, I work with a lot of moms that have girls that are really struggling with friendships, middle schoolers primarily, and they're getting left out. And COVID's done a number on us. And I'm glad we're talking about friendships as well with regards to us, because that's a little different and really important, because my experience also is that moms, and I have been there, we get so upset when our daughters are in middle school and they're going through this. It's very difficult not to put our stuff on them of how hurtful it was and to get all caught up in that. And yet you've written this book and you have questions in there for the girl. I mean, it's just amazing, all the different, how you decided to write it. But why did you decide to write it? Why didn't you just start there?
Well, most of all, we decided to write it because the publisher asked us to.
Yeah. If truth be known.
If truth be known. No, I actually always thought that a kid's book could come from this. And so I'm really grateful that it did. But I wanted to write it because just like I said earlier, I feel like women our age, why Sister I'm With You has resonated with so many is because we are having to unlearn a lot. We did not have a really good foundation when it comes to friendship. We didn't have anyone there to really talk to us and say, they don't like you. It's okay. That doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean you're bad. It's okay. We didn't have anyone there to say stuff like, it's okay if you don't have a lot of friends. You don't, just find one friend, and that's great. You pour into them and love them. There was just a lot of unlearning, I think, that our age has had to do. And I just think how wonderful if we took all of this and we gave it to the next generation and they just had a really solid foundation and they could go from there and they could really know who they were and they could know that they had the power to change their lives, that they didn't have to wait around, that they could know, okay, I can do these hard things. And they were empowered by that. So that's really it. I want the next generation to just have a really good foundation. I don't want them to have to unlearn what we have had to unlearn.
Yeah, and definitely you were successful in that with this book. And I love it because I think at this age, girls are so much looking outside of themselves, especially with social media, which we were talking about earlier before we jumped on, but social media for their sense of self.
Yeah.
And how do I measure up? And it's right there in their face. And your book continues to bring it back, like, who do you want to be? What kind of friends do you want to have? How do you deal with conflict? Who taught us how to deal with conflict? I mean, you talk about how conflict is usually dealt with the girls talking amongst the girls because they don't want to tell their friend they're upset.
Yes.
Nobody taught us back then how to do it.
Nobody taught us. We're a whole generation of avoiders. It gets hard, we avoid. It gets uncomfortable, we just cut you off and move on. And that, again, you can't find lasting friendships by being a leaving friend. You have to figure out how to work through some of the stuff and to know when it's time to work through it and to have that conflict and to know when it is time to let something go. And there's a lot of maturity in that, but that's the truth, is have the hard conversations. Like, I think there's kind of this fine line of setting boundaries and being like, this is what I want out of friendships. This is really what I hope to gain. And I'm going to have boundaries between me and you, and making sure we don't overstep and then just end up cutting everybody out because they mess up one time or because we're not willing to talk things through. And there's a fine line there.
Yeah. Turning the back. Well, what I love, and I just want to read a couple of these is I think one of the struggles is our girls don't, and boys too, but we don't have the words for what to say to take care of ourselves. So we don't know what to say. So we don't say anything and we just stuff it down. But you actually give some scripts. Use your words for good. What did you mean when you said that? You call it practicing healthy communication. Hey, are we good? Why did you react like that? Did I hurt your feelings? Hey, when you did that, it hurt my feelings. Can we talk about the other day? I feel like things got weird between us. I've been struggling with blank. Can we talk about it? So and you go on, and I won't read them all because they're so good, but it gives our girls words to be empowered. And you can think about, okay, how do I talk to them? Oh, here, I can say this. And really gives them some tools that a lot of times I find as moms we don't have because we didn't learn it, or we get really wrapped into it. And so then we don't have our best thinking cap on in the moment, or they don't listen. They don't hear what we have to say because they're starting to tune us out at that age.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I really like that you included that, and you have all kinds. Tell them about the different kinds of things that activities you put in the book.
Okay, well, so I have ADHD and I write in a way that I assume other people do too. So that's why I just got off the phone with my publisher about wanting to change some things because I was like, no, everybody has ADHD now. We all have it. And I know that's not true, but our attention span has changed. So it was just really important to me as someone who has a very hard time reading a book front to cover. Because I have a hard time with it. I can't do it. To make it interactive and to make it more like involvement. Because I think if they're involved, they'll remember more. The stuff will stick out and they'll be able to get through it, even if with a short attention span. So there are word searches. There are the sticky note challenges. That's my favorite thing in there. I love the sticky note challenge. It's just, it'll give you a prompt at the end of every chapter to take a sticky note, write, and we give you the message to write on it, write it and put it on your mirror every day. Just like a reminder, or sometimes the sticky note challenge is that you write like a compliment to someone and you give it to them, or that you you invite somebody over and you write it on the sticky note and give it out. But most of the sticky note challenges are a note for them to write to themselves and put it somewhere where they'll see it repeatedly. And then there's a little like a message and note to my grown up, because I wanted conversations between children and whoever their caregiver is. I wanted those conversations going. And they don't always come up naturally. We think that they will, but our kids aren't always going to tell us everything. We didn't tell our parents everything. They're not going to always know how to open up to us. But hopefully this makes it easier and more natural. Because if they'll do it now, if they will learn how to open up to us when they're 8 to 12, the goal is that hopefully they come to us when they're 16, 17, 18, and they feel comfortable speaking to us. But to me, you start when they're young, knowing that you're a safe place for these conversations. So there are those. There's like a word thing where you go and you find all the capital letters and it gives you a message throughout. Lots of prompts, it's a cute book. I mean, it's pretty. It's
an adorable book, and the illustrations are so cute too.
Yeah. We went through a lot. We wanted to find the perfect illustrator. It's not me. It have been a lot of stick figures.
Yeah.
Illustrator.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. I know that moms, caregivers are looking for a book where they can give it to their girls to be able to navigate the middle school years.
They're so hard. They are so hard. You know what kind of stuck with me? I'm very far removed from middle school. And I've come a long way since then, but even like going back and like kind of tapping into like middle school brain and kind of tapping into like the stories to write.
Mm-hmm.
That like there are a couple times where I'd start crying. I start crying from things that happened when I was 13. Because that stuff, it matters and it sticks down and it does form who we are and what we believe about ourselves one way or another. And I just so badly want girls to be confident in who they are. I so badly want them to walk into this world with confidence and not just waiting for things to happen to them, but knowing that they are capable of making things happen. They are capable of forming good friendships. They are capable of being themselves and being loved exactly as they are. They are capable of being the one who throws the party and not the one who just sits around and waits. I want them to be confident. I want them to know they're capable and they don't have to just wait for their life to happen.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. Well, and you can tell in your words that your heart is so there right with them, just in the way that you wrote it. It's so heartfelt, you and Jess, and it's also funny and light and serious, and it's and filled with wisdom. So it's so good. I want to just ask you a question as we're getting ready to close. What would you say to the mom that's listening that has a daughter that's really struggling with friendships and confidence?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? How would you encourage them to enter into, the conversation?
Ooh, I'd say, because I know with my own child, one thing that I've had to learn, I've had to figure out what speaks to them, not what speaks to me and not what I would want, but what speaks to them. What language? And then you speak it that way. I have a son that he doesn't necessarily want to have a deep, heartfelt conversation with me, unless he approaches it. He doesn't want me to sit there and pump him up. He's not going to be receptive of words. He will be receptive of a note. If I leave a note in his room that's really confident, I can tell in his actions the next day that, okay, that meant something to him. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
but
yes.
that's such a big part of figuring out what language do they speak, what works for that kid, and then kind of doing that, figuring out what works for them. Because like I said, I've got one kid who wants me to tell them all the nice things, and they want me to build them up. And I've got one kid who gets uncomfortable in that kind of situation, but I started a journal between me and him where every once in a while he, I'll just journal. It's just like little notes from me to him. And I'll just put it by his bed. And like when he's asleep, I'll put it by his head so he knows there's a new little something in there. And it's just, hey, I saw you do this and I'm so proud of you. Hey, I just like who you are. To me, that's another big one. And this is my number one parenting phrase that I stick to is love them for them. Love them for exactly who they are. Don't try to change them to who you think they should be. Don't try to change them into who you are. Love them for them and let that be enough. Try to like them. And sometimes you can't always like your kids. Sometimes they act nuts and terrible. But if you can love them for exactly who they are, and let them be themselves, they will thrive in that environment. Anyone thrives in that environment. None of us want someone who's trying to change us. None of us want to feel like we're not good enough. None of us feel like we don't quite measure up. None of us want to feel that. Our kids especially don't want to feel that. I want to be their safest place. I want to be the one that's like, no, my mom takes me exactly as I am. I want to be their safest home. So that's the phrase. I'm like, love them for them. Love them for them.
Yeah. I just love that. And that's one of the things I say, being their safe place, but the way that you said it, I mean, I'm sure listeners are like, yes, yes, love them for them and let that be enough. And just that is going to help them become more confident. They're not fixer-upper projects. They're not to live, we're not meant to be living through them, trying to make them into something we think, trying to fit our mold. They are each their unique person.
Yeah. And the more I relax, because I know as a mom, and I know as a mom, like I'm constantly worried, like, are they going to be okay? Are they going to grow up to be good adults? Are they going to da-da-da? And I feel more like when I get in that headspace of where I'm like worried about it and almost frantic about it, it's our home is not as, it's just not as happy. Everybody's wound tight. So I try to remember, like, you set the tone and you let go of that and believe in them, even when they make a mistake. And sometimes I don't want to be an over fixer of my kids' problem. I don't want to mow down every obstacle in their way. I don't want to fix everything for them. I want them to struggle a little bit because those struggles are going to make them who they are. Those struggles are going to teach them. Like a puppy, like, that's how puppies learn to play.
is by being together. So like those beginning years in a puppy's life are really, really important. Or the beginning few months, weeks in a puppy's life are really important, because when they're playing with their brothers and sisters, that's how they learn, oh, I bit my brother, he yelped, and now he won't play with me. That was too far. So that's kind of how they learn, is when they mess up. Your kids will learn when they mess up too. Your kids will learn with those struggles. They will gain stuff. You don't want to plow through every obstacle. That is not going to help them in the long run. As hard as it is to believe that they will either make the right decision when push comes to shove, or that they will learn something valuable even when they don't. And they'll learn it in a way that will stick with more than just your words.
Yes. Yes.
So don't feel like you have to.
Well, and and what happens is it's like believing they're going to be okay like that. Are they going to be okay? Are they going to be okay? Are they? But what we end up sending the message, they're not going to be okay. And we don't believe they're going to be okay.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's not the message I want to send my kids. I want to send my message because I believe in you. You're going to be fine. You're going to not even just be fine. You're going to be great. You're going to be great. We may struggle a little bit here and there, but the overwhelming thing is you are going to be great, and you are capable of making these decisions. You are capable of living your life. You are capable of being loved exactly as you are. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you in the way that I behave, and the way that I respond, and the way that I react.
Wow. Amy, thank you. This is so inspiring. We're like, yes, we can do this. Right. And
yes.
So thank you. Tell everybody where to find you, they can look at Sister, I Am With You, tell them where, all of that.
So Sister, I'm With You is the page on friendship for me and Jess. Honestly, we're best at Facebook. We're going to try to do Instagram, but I always tell them just like we're tired. It's not that we don't want to do everything. We're just tired.
Yeah.
And Jess and I both, to me, I'm very grateful for my job. I'm very grateful for social media. I take it seriously. And I don't know if you feel this way, but at the end of my life, I'm not going to be like, no, it's fine. I'm fine with my life because I created a successful Facebook page. No, I don't care about that. I want to know that like I was fine in my life because I really loved my people hard, and I really gave it all I had, and I took chances, and I loved my family well. And so anyways,
it's again, what we're talking about is what really matters to me. What's going to really fill me up? What's going to be satisfying for my life, and doing it. Am I doing it, if you take the whole friendship thing, to please other people? And because this is, or am I doing it because I care about you? Yeah. So I care about you, but I can't be everywhere and care about the people that really matter to me the most.
Yes,
so
yeah. Instagram it's not our best. Our website's not our best.
You have a great website, a great, and you're serving moms that need it.
Yeah, first and foremost. And then, and my page is just Amy Weatherly. On Amy Weatherly, and I don't know, just talk about stuff.
Talk about real life. Talk about our struggles and our challenges, and yeah. So all right, I will share all that, and then your books. Tell them about your books.
Yeah. So the adult version, which honestly, because you have a lot of teenage moms. Well, not teenage moms, but they're moms of teenagers.
Yeah, right? Tweens and teens. Yep.
So I would say the children's book that we were talking about was written for ages 8 to 12. Probably a 13-year-old is still going to be good with that book. After 13, I don't see any reason why they can't read the adult version, which is called I'll Be There, but I'll Be Wearing Sweatpants. Chapter 3 is a little bit harder, heavier, but I don't think they made us take out all the cuss words. We both had a couple cuss words in there, and they made us take it out. So it's it's clean. There's nothing in there that a teenager can't read. So I would say that for the teenager and for you want the book I'll Be There, but I'll Be Wearing Sweatpants. And then 8 to 12, maybe 8 to 13, I'll Be There and Let's Make Friendship Bracelets is the adaptation of that book.
Yep. I love it. Well, Amy, it has been so much fun. So much fun.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you. I've got to go overthink some of these things that I said.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We need to hear it. So I so appreciate you being on the show and for
Thank
all
you
you're doing.
so much. Thank you so much. It's an honor. And again, as a, appreciate you too, because we got to have each other, because parenting is it's the hardest gig I've ever done. It is tough. And we just need each other and need like little reminders of we're all in this and we're all messing up and we're all doing well. And here's what I did that worked. And here's what I did that didn't work. And just a little reminder that at the end, like it really is going to be the way we love them matters more than anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to know we're not alone. We have, we're in it together. So
Yes. Yep. We need that. So thank you so much for what you do too.